If you've spent years doing inner work, meditating, journaling, learning about consciousness and the law of attraction, studying spiritual teachings, and yet there's still this feeling inside you that says, I should be further along than this. Or I thought I would feel happier by now. Or why do I still feel like something important is missing? Why is this all so hard? Well, you are not alone. I work with thoughtful, capable, brilliant, spiritually aware women who have done a lot of inner work. And yet, that inner feeling that you're somehow still not enough finds its way back in. Can you relate to this too? So, what many people don't realize is this: that same identity that learned to succeed and prove herself in the outer world is quietly hijacking the liberation, that deep fulfillment and sense of purpose that you're seeking underneath all the spiritual learning and tools. So in this video, I want to show you exactly how that happens in real life, how it shows up in your habits, in your thinking, and in your daily choices, so that these insights can become something that you can actually use to step into a beautiful new way of being, rather than just letting this become more interesting information that collects dust. So let's jump in. Let's look at the identity behind the pattern. Many of the women who find my work are what I call high capacity women. So maybe you can relate to this too. You're thoughtful, you're responsible, capable, you know how to figure things out. And at some point in life, you probably learned that being prepared, improving yourself, and doing things really well helped you succeed. So when you entered into the world of spirituality or personal growth or personal improvement, that same identity came with you. But here's the important distinction. The trap isn't what you choose, it's how the conditioned identity behind the choice is operating. And it's so much a part of you that it's not always easy to see. That's why unwanted patterns can stick around for a really long time. So here's an example of what this looks like. Let's say there are two people and they both meditate in the morning. One person sits down because they enjoy the stillness. The other sits down thinking, I really need to be more consistent with this. Maybe if I meditate longer, I'll finally align with what I really want. Or other people seem so centered. Why can't I get there? Same activity, very different inner experience. One is presence. The other is performance, disguised as getting spiritually right. So let's look at how this shows up in daily life. Let's make this very concrete. Here are some of the ways this pattern shows up in everyday life. You wake up in the morning and immediately evaluate yourself. Maybe you think, did I meditate today? Did I do my journaling? Did I stay present enough? Maybe I need to watch another law of attraction video. Notice how your spiritual practices quietly become a scorecard. Or maybe you consume a lot of spiritual content. You watch a lot of YouTube videos like this one. You read books about consciousness and living from soul. You attend workshops about living your best life. And while you're learning beautiful ideas, another voice in your mind is quietly saying, there's something I haven't figured out yet. Or maybe I don't think this is it. So you go on gathering more insights, more information, looking for another teaching, another healing, another modality, another breakthrough conversation, or you heal another core wound. But notice how that feeling underneath remains the same. Because the identity that is consuming all that information is still trying to perfect itself. So we are living in a culture right now where spirituality has started to look a lot like productivity culture. We've brought that culture into our spiritual practices. So you see endless lists of things you should or could be doing every day to live a more conscious, fulfilling life. The perfect morning routine, the best nervous system practices, the highest vibrational foods. And so spirituality can become something else that you need to optimize, perfect, or do right. Your meditation becomes something to improve. Your healing becomes something to finally complete. Your awakening becomes something to achieve. But the original purpose of spiritual practices was never to create another performance system, another checklist. They were meant to free you from the prove yourself systems that hijack your fulfillment and sense of purpose and authentic soul expression. So let's look at the nervous system underneath the mask of constant improvement and achievement and performance. Often underneath this pattern is something very human and relatable. Many high-achieving, high-capacity, caring women have nervous systems that learned early in life that love, approval, and even safety came from doing things well, being useful, being agreeable, fitting in, or being perfect in some impossible way. So, the mind learned early that if I improve enough, I will finally feel at peace. And when spirituality enters the picture, the mind simply redirects that strategy to that topic. Instead of proving through career success, now you're proving enoughness and worthiness through personal evolution, through doing more healing, through performing and perfecting presence, by constantly evaluating how you're doing your spiritual tasks, by being the most self-aware person in the room. But that same nervous system pressure is still there, quietly asking, am I finally there yet? When will it ever be enough? When will I ever be enough? This is the shadow of spiritual perfectionism at work. It's where something interesting happens. The achiever identity doesn't disappear when you become spiritually aware. It simply adapts a spiritual language. So instead of I need to succeed, it becomes I need to heal this pattern. Instead of I should be more successful by now, it becomes I should be more evolved by now. Instead of I need to be perfect, it becomes I should be more present. The words are different, but the pressure and the energy is the same. So here's the turning point. The real shift doesn't happen when you finally perfect your spiritual practices or your chosen modality. It happens when you start recognizing the identity that's been running the whole system. And this is where sovereignty becomes the key that opens the door to the actual ways of being and doing that you've been looking for. Sovereignty is not about doing spirituality better. Sovereignty is the ability to exist without needing to justify your space through achievement, people pleasing, or twisting yourself into a pretzel to comply with someone else's definition of a great or successful life. It's about living from your soul truth and unleashing the beautiful spirit that's been hidden underneath the conditioned self. It's that moment when the conditioned driver that's been trying to improve you finally begins to step down, and something much more natural begins to emerge. It's what I call graceful being. It's not passive. It's not disengaged. It's about being deeply at ease with your own existence. It's about coming home to yourself and discovering the riches that are within you as a unique being. The truth is, sovereignty begins the moment that you stop trying to improve who you are and you start living from the perfection that is already there. So let's look at bringing this into physical form. If you recognize yourself somewhere in this pattern, I invite you to like this video and comment with "feeling seen" below. Now, here are a few ways to begin shifting the feeling of not being enough, that unwanted pattern. First, notice the voice that constantly asks, "What else do I need to do?" That voice often belongs to the conditioned achiever identity. Second, allow your practices to return to their original purpose. Meditation was never meant to prove anything. Journaling was never meant to perfect you. They are simply ways to meet yourself with honesty and love. And third, experiment with something radical in our culture, which is allow yourself to exist without trying to improve the moment, even for a few minutes. Because transformation doesn't happen when enough insights pile up. It happens when you actually allow an insight to change how you relate to yourself. Here are a few closing thoughts. I've been advising high-capacity women for over 23 years inside my business. So I've seen how the not enough pattern can keep you from claiming and living from your true magnificence. And isn't it time to live from the heart and soul of who you are? So instead of trying to become a better version of yourself or someone else, you can clearly see your own natural brilliance, your beautiful gifts, the life themes that you came to explore and why, and your natural way of moving through the world rather than the strategies that you've been using that leave you feeling like no matter what you do, it's somehow never enough. And when that becomes visible, something remarkable happens. The pressure to prove yourself starts to fall away. Self-criticism finally dissolves because you are no longer trying to earn your place or your right to be here. You're simply living from who you actually are. If this video resonates with you, take a moment after watching it to sit with what you heard. Not to analyze it, not to turn it into another self-improvement project, but to notice where the voice of not enough might still be quietly running the show. Because awareness of that pattern is the first step toward being free from it. And if you'd like to explore more conversations like this, subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.